Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? If you can hear me, please just type yes. Yes in the chat, if you can. Um, Excellent. Okay, great, great. Just one moment. Okay, excellent. So welcome everyone to the first Study Skills Club meeting over Zoom. We're trying to reach a bigger audience of people taking the online course, as well as people at the school attending classes at the school as well. So inshallah, this will get to reach a lot of people. Anyway, so my name is Dylan Anderson. I am an English instructor at Northstar College, as well as the curriculum coordinator for the school. So I'm in charge of organizing the classes, helping the teachers with their classes. And I want a reminder to everyone to please mute. Yes, thank you. And so one thing I'll be doing this course is running a study skills session. And I'll just go to the, yes, everyone, please mute you. Please stay on mute. One moment. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to start the PowerPoint for us. I just want to make sure. Please, just before I start, if everyone can mute their Zoom, so we can start. Well, excellent. So Study Skills Club, Class 1. The class objectives will have a course introduction. We'll have talk about different types of vocabulary learners. We'll have a vocabulary survey, and we'll discuss how to have vocabulary on our phones. So I'm going to share the screen so that you can see. Okay, excellent. So those are the class objectives that I just spoke about. And introduction. The goal of this course is really to learn how to be an independent learner. What that means is that you as a learner need to be independent, be able to work independent of the school and your teacher. And you need to form habits of learning and studying so that you can be a lifelong learner of English. Because many students, while they're at the school or while they're taking a course, they're doing a fine job, they're doing homework, they're studying most days of the week. But when they leave the school, or maybe they get busy with work, they stop studying, and then they lose their English, the English that they gained in their course. So in order to avoid that, it's really important to develop good habits of studying. So becoming proficient in English will only be the result of your own effort and intelligent study habits. A teacher is something very important, of course, as we know, but really it's only ourselves that can really fully take responsibility for our own language learning. And as I said before, Northstar College is the best place to study English in Hargeisa or Somaliland, but you should have the tools to study and review even after you graduate. Excellent. So today we're going to be talking about studying vocabulary. So I want us to think about three different students with three different approaches to studying. And I want us to think which student is more like you. So student A says, I write new words in a notebook. I sometimes write the meaning in English or draw a picture. And I sometimes write translation into my own language. Student B says, I like to learn new words. When I hear a new word, I say it out loud and I type it into my cell phone. Then I email it to my laptop. Student C, I make vocabulary flashcards. I keep them together. And I take them, sorry, there's a typo. I take them everywhere, at home, at school, and on the bus. Excellent. So I want us to really think about each of these students. And what's good about the students is that for them, studying is kind of a lifestyle. It's not something they do for 20 minutes after dinner. It's not something they do just simply on their way to work. It's something that is a lifestyle. It's part of their life. They integrate it. They put it into how they live their lives. And so that's something that I really want to talk about today. So we take student A, for example. Their main, the main way that they write their vocabulary down or they keep track of their vocabulary is in a notebook. And then they either draw a picture or sometimes write a translation. I think both are fine. And then B, what I like about B is that B has kind of a technological aspect, a technological side to their studying. So they type the words onto their cell phones and then email it to their laptops. I'm supposed to say into my cell phone. I apologize. And then and so what I like about that is, and we'll talk about this at the end of in just a few minutes, is having the vocabulary on your cell phone. And so I really like the idea of someone typing the words onto their cell phone. And that way they can always keep it kind of wherever they go. And then the third person makes vocabulary flashcards, which is where you have the English word on one side, and then you have the definition on the other side of the card. So you flip it back and forth on two sides of a piece of paper. And then you can take them everywhere you go so that you can always study some vocabulary. And so along those lines, here I have some of the most common things that people do to study vocabulary. From my experience as a teacher, these are the most common things that I've seen students do. And just for yourselves, I want you to think, how often do you do each of these things? So the first thing is read the textbook again when you go home. So maybe you studied a lesson in the book. It's likely that maybe you didn't know all of the words in the book. Maybe you knew maybe 80% of the words, especially if there was a reading in class or a reading assigned to you. Maybe in the reading, ask yourself, did you know all of the words in the reading? And if not, it can be wise to read the textbook again, read the lesson again at home, and review what you did in class. And especially making sure to write the vocabulary words down. And so think about, do you never do that? Do you sometimes do that? Do you do it all the time, or do you do it regularly? Excellent. So the second is to make flashcards with words. As I spoke earlier, flashcards, just a simple piece of paper with, maybe the English word on one side, and on the other side, you can have the Somali word or the definition in English, or maybe even a picture if you learn well with pictures. So again, how often do you do any of these things? Do you do it sometimes? Do you do it almost never? Do you do it regularly? Kind of think about those think about your own study habits. So writing words in a notebook is simple, but it really is effective if you go back to the notebook a lot, and you use the notebook regularly, which means that you're using the words, you're seeing the words regularly. You're seeing the words again and again, and you're keeping track of them in one place. And so it's easy to kind of learn them and become familiar with them if you see them again and again. Also translation, I think is fine. You write one word with, the Somali translation next to it. I think that's fine. And then writing your own sentences. This is a little more work, but it's something that I really suggest, because if you write your own sentences with the vocabulary word and you really try to write a meaningful sentence, you can spend maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes thinking about the meaning of the word specifically. You're spending 2 minutes really thinking about what is the meaning of this word and how do I put it into a sentence. And so writing sentences can be a really great way to really focus in on vocabulary and to really think about the meaning of the words. Then the second to last one is to check new words in a dictionary. And our dictionaries used to be a little more difficult when they were just books and you had to, kind of flip through the book. But now it's easy to use a dictionary online. There are several different dictionaries that you can use. And what I like about dictionaries is that it's an English to English, process. And from the little that I know about the Somali language, is that often it can be difficult to find a direct translation between Somali words and English words. And so it's better to just maybe keep the entire process in English. And so I find that really useful. And also you can find, just to remind everyone, could you please mute, if you mute your account, if you have sound. Excellent. So one more thing about the dictionaries is that you can learn new words from the definition. If you keep track of the words that you learned from the definition, maybe a list of 5 vocabulary words could end up giving you 15 or 20 new words just from the words in the definition. And so a dictionary can really help. I really recommend it. I think translation has a place for maybe just simple, if you really need to just check the meaning of one word. But if you're learning a lot of new words and a lot of vocabulary, I think a dictionary is really the best thing to do. And then the last one is to learn different word forms. And what I mean by word forms is to put something into a noun, an adjective, and a verb. So for example, if you have the word success, success is a noun, but you could also work with the word succeed, which is the verb connected to that noun. And you could also work with the word successful. And so say, for example, if you wrote one sentence to study, you wrote one sentence for the word succeed, you wrote one sentence for the word successful, and you wrote one sentence for the word success, you would really spend a lot of time with that word. And also it would help your grammar as well, because you would need to change the sentence around the word form in order to accommodate or allow the word to fit in. Excellent. One last note, I really suggest, since we live in a world where we use smartphones really for everything, making English kind of part of our smartphone is could really benefit us, and could really help us learn English kind of, all the time. And so there are many apps, this is the first point. There are many apps that are designed to help you learn. One app that I recommend is called Anki Mobile Flashcards. This allows you to put your vocabulary onto the app and make it easier for you to study. So this really kind of allows your studying to be mobile. And if you download this app, you can make flashcards with the new vocabulary, and you can study really at any time, in any place. Maybe if you're on public transport, or if you're waiting at an office, if you're waiting, for a meeting, if you have 5 minutes here or there, you can open the app and you can study a little bit of vocabulary if you want. Also, the second point, in our social media age, I really suggest following any English-speaking accounts on Twitter, Facebook, or anything. And so, as you spend some time on social media, either to, just at the end of the day, a lot of us go on social media, or throughout the day. As you're scrolling through your social media, you'll see some English accounts, and that might be a good way of getting new vocabulary. You see a headline in English, or you see a short video in English. It can be a way to kind of study without really trying to study. And so I really suggest that. And so anything that you're interested in, if you're interested in technology and tech, you can follow some accounts that talk about technology and different things. If you're interested in politics, you can follow some English-speaking political commentators. If you're interested, any topic that you're interested in, follow maybe a couple English-speaking accounts, and that will help you kind of have more exposure to English in general. And then the last point is, in general, since we are all on our phones all the time, if we have exposure, having exposure on English on our phones will help us learn new vocabulary every day. And that will be really important to help us learn. Excellent. And then the last point I have, just for the short presentation today, is a hadith that I'm sure all of us know from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I won't read the Arabic, but you can see the Arabic if you want. But the English says, Abu Huraira reported, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Take up good deeds only as much as you are able, for the best deeds are those done regularly, even if they are few." So this can apply to our whole life, but in the context of language learning, think about it. If we think about learning 5 new words a day, done consistently. Consistently means done without breaking the habit, done without pausing or stopping. That's much better than trying to learn 50 words in one day and then you forget them the next. So I want to think about this in the context of studying. Just try to learn, just a few words every day, and make it just a daily habit, and that will, inshallah, kind of build your vocabulary much more than just trying to learn a lot on one day or something like that. When you feel really motivated, just try to make it a daily practice, learning a few vocabulary words every day. Excellent. So that's about half of our time. I'm going to come back to the Zoom, and I'll open up the chat for any questions you might have about studying, about vocabulary or anything like that. You can speak, or you can type. You can type into the chat any questions that you may have. Okay, so if there's no questions, I might kind of work us, have us work through kind of an exercise in taking different word forms and putting them into different sentences. So, for example, I'll start the screen sharing again. Okay, so let's take the example I was talking about before. So say we have the word success. Make it a little bigger, everyone can see. Excellent. So say this is a word that you're studying. So success is a noun, and succeed is a verb, and successful is an adjective. So what I like to do is say you're going to write a sentence, and the minimum amount of words in the sentence will be maybe 8. So let's say write a sentence with an 8-word minimum. Excellent. So I like to do that to kind of keep you, from writing just very simple sentences. It forces us to be, have to think a little bit more. So for example, if I have the word success, and I make it the subject of the sentence, success in learning a language, maybe, comes from consistent effort. Good. So let's see if I hit my goal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Excellent. Yeah, so I got 9 words here. And let's see if I can do succeed. Now, if I'm working with a verb, it will force me to kind of change the sentence a little bit. It will force me to kind of think about the grammar of the sentence. So for example, maybe I'll start with, in order to succeed in your studies, you should, let's see, carry flashcards with you. Okay, so you see, I couldn't really, using a different form of the verb, succeed, kind of forced me to think of a different sentence. It didn't come into my head to think of the first sentence. I had to think of a new sentence just because I was using the new form of the word. And so how many words was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so 13 words, right? It's not a goal to have the biggest number of words, but it's good to have a minimum, for you. So then successful. So trying to think of a sentence with the word successful. How about successful students always bring a pen and notebook to class? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, so like 10 words. So yeah, so I think this is kind of fun, because if you take the different forms of the words, success, succeed, successful, it kind of forces you to think of a different sentence. You need to like change the sentence around. You need to think of new sentences in order to accommodate the different forms of the word, whether it be a noun, adjective, or verb. Excellent. Good. And so I'll come back to I'll come back to the chat. Let's see. Someone says, how can we improve pronunciation? Excellent. That's a great question. Pronunciation is a really important topic, and something that I believe that we should all practice. One thing that we can do to improve pronunciation, this is another thing that we can use with our phones, actually. If most people have kind of like a notepad aspect to their phones, like something where you can write down like any notes on your phone. There's a microphone. There's usually a microphone on the keyboard next to the space bar where you can speak into the phone, and the phone can actually write down what you say as you're saying it, which can be really helpful. So what I tell my students to do sometimes is to take a reading from their textbook and read the reading into their phone and have the phone write down what they say. And so you can kind of compare between what the phone is saying, you said, and what the text says in your book, or maybe in the reading on your online class. And so that can be really good. So look for that on your phone. Any sort of notepad app can really help you. And then looking for the microphone so you speak into the phone. As well as listening to more English speaking sources, whether it be active or passive. Maybe you just have the news on, or you have like a video on in the background. You don't need to be listening to every word, but the more you kind of listen to the English language, the more your pronunciation will improve naturally. And then of course, if you do have any sort of partner for speaking, anyone you know that you can speak with, trying to speak English daily for a little bit of time can really, for just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, can really improve your pronunciation as well. And so I think, yeah, there's a lot of ways you can help improve your pronunciation, whether it be using a recording function on your app, recording function or recording app on your phone. You can try to speak regularly, just for 5 minutes or 10 minutes with somebody. The more you speak, the easier it will become. And as well as just kind of listening, whether it be active listening or whether it be more kind of passive listening, something like that. So yeah, thank you for the question, Tahani. Are there any other questions that you have about studying? It doesn't have to be about vocabulary. It can be about any difficulties you're having in your classes, or anything of that sort. Okay, excellent. Along with that, I'll go back to the document. Something to think about, and something that we can start to learn about. One aspect of pronunciation, say we have the word successful. I'll take the same word. So if you think about each word has this word has 3 syllables. So successful. And always in English, when we have 2 words with 2 or more syllables, one syllable is stronger than the other. And so in this case, the first syllable, sa, is going to be kind of heavier. Well, I apologize, successful. the second syllable is going to be heavier than the other one. So successful, you hear when I say successful, the middle syllable is kind of stronger than the others, stronger than the beginning, stronger than the end. And so we'll start to kind of think about that when you have more words that you are learning, like with your vocabulary. Maybe you put that in with your vocabulary. You know, you put which syllable you think is stressed in the word. If we take another word like English, English has two syllables, English, English. And so here, English, the first syllable is stronger than the second, English. And so this could be something that you try to do with your vocabulary as well. You know, you can listen to the word. You know, if you go to an online translator, usually you can hear the pronunciation of the word and try to listen to the strong syllable in the word as you're learning the vocabulary. So this could be a really great way to add pronunciation into your vocabulary. So yeah, excellent. So let me come back to the chat. Excellent. Well, good. Well, good. So seems like if there's no other questions, I think we might wrap up this first meeting. Each meeting will be between about a half hour and 40 minutes long. And so usually I try to keep the last 10 minutes or so open for questions, maybe last 10 to 20 minutes. So I guess your homework is to try one of these methods that we talked about today. Try one of these methods for learning vocabulary and see how it worked. And then next week, I'd be excited to see what worked for you, see what didn't. But try something new between this week and next week when you're learning your vocabulary, either from your class or from your online course. Yeah, so I think that could be really helpful. That would be the best homework we can do. So yeah, great. Yes, hello.
Sir, thank you. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Yes. Also, time is finishing. Okay, sir. I have two questions. As a student here, I have two problems. My first problem, all those two problems are based on speaking. So my first question is there's a problem. My English speaking sometimes is good, but the problem is sometimes I try to speak English language to explain something, and at that time I know the words to say, but the memorizing of those words are very difficult to me. I know the exact word to say, but sometimes I can't remember. And I'm searching, trying to search, but I can't remember. So that's one question. The other question is, well, sometimes I try to speak or to explain something using English language, but I don't know how to interconnect those words. I improve English language, but still I feel there's something. So how can you help me that those problems? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Saeed. So I would say in terms of memorizing, one really important thing is seeing the word again and again and again and again, like repetition, like repeating the word. And so if you have the words in some sort of notebook, or even like on a piece of paper, like, you know, that you put on your wall or you put in your office or something, seeing the words again and again and again can really help you remember the words. If you only see them once, maybe like the one day that you write it down, it's easy to forget them. And then, write them down, keep a vocabulary log. Yeah, as Ian Rogers is saying in the chat. And that's an easy way to see them again and again, right? So keeping a vocabulary log, writing them down.
Okay.
And then in terms of interconnecting the words and the meanings, I would say writing down sentences and writing down definitions. In my experience as a teacher, students find it a lot easier to explain the meaning after they've tried to write down the definitions, they've tried to write them in sentences, and they've really spent time thinking about the meaning rather than just simply writing the word in a notebook, which is okay. But the next step is to write down the definitions, write down sentences. You use them in different writings, try to write a paragraph with 3 or 5 different vocabulary words. That can really help you as well. So basically you're speaking what you wrote before, like that. And so those would be my suggestions.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So we just have 1 minute left. There's, if you look in the founder of Northstar College, Ian Rogers, is in the chat, and he's giving you good advice as well. He's saying keep a vocabulary log, write the words down, and he has an app called Language Drops, and he said that's good for using vocabulary as well. And so yeah, so there's a lot of things out there, especially with technology. There's a lot of apps, a lot of websites that can help you. So yeah, so I guess that's it for now. Between now and next week, try something new in your vocabulary learning, and I look forward to hearing how it works next week. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Have a good evening, everyone. I'll see you next week, inshallah.
Alaikum salam. Thank you.
Yes.